They told us for years that sugar is the enemy hiding in cookies, sodas, and pies. But what most folks don't realize is that sugar sneaks into blood even faster when our body can't handle it right. Here's the surprise. Some of the very same leafy greens we grew up pushing to the side of the plate can actually pull that sugar out of your blood and send it packing. I know it sounds too simple, but sometimes the answers God gives us are right there in the garden, not in a pill bottle. The crunch of kale, the peppery bite of arugula, or even the humble spinach leaf, each carries a quiet strength that works on your heart, your joints, and even that stubborn belly sugar. And for folks like us over 60, when every ache and pain feels louder than before, these greens become more than food. They become little daily healers. I remember my mama in Alabama boiling collard greens on Sundays, the smell filling the kitchen before church. Back then, I never knew that same plate could soften inflammation in the joints or calm down blood sugar swings. Today, doctors give a fancy name, but I just call it God's wisdom hiding in plain sight. Think about it. The same greens our grandparents ate without question are now the ones helping us walk without pain, keep our memories sharper, and let us breathe easier. At this age, we don't chase diets or trends. We just want steady energy, less pain in knees, and a heart that keeps beating strong. And friend, it's never too late to bring these greens back to the table, whether sautéed with garlic, tossed in a salad, or slow cooked like the old days. If you enjoy learning these simple secrets, please like and share this video, and tell me in the comments, which leafy green do you eat the most at home? Number 7, kale. The crunch of fresh kale reminds me of walking to the farmer's market on a cool Saturday morning, with baskets overflowing in green. Kale isn't just a trend food from fancy restaurants. It's been around a long time, though folks use to feed it more to animals than themselves. Funny how life works. The same tough leaves we once ignored now carry the strength to pull sugar right out of our blood. Every forkful feels like sending a little cleaning crew through your veins, sweeping away what doesn't belong. And after 60, when sugar highs and lows start making our hands shake or our eyes blur, that cleanup feels like a blessing. I thank God that something so simple can steady the body in such a quiet way. When I started adding kale to my eggs in the morning, I noticed something. Instead of crashing by 10 a.m. like I used to, I had a steady, calm energy that lasted. My grandson laughed at me for putting rabbit food in an omelet, but even he admitted it looked good with a little cheddar melted on top. Kale doesn't just feed you, it fuels you, balancing sugar so you don't feel those wild swings. And that balance isn't just about sugar. It's about keeping your heart calmer, your thoughts clearer, and your patience longer. The Lord knows patience runs thin when your blood sugar runs wild. Back in history, during tough winters in Europe, kale was often the only green that survived frost. Families thanked God for it because it kept them alive through months when nothing else would grow. Imagine that, a plant strong enough to survive the cold and strong enough to keep us going when life feels heavy. That toughness shows up in our bodies too. Every serving feels like putting a shield around your heart and joints. The bitterness of kale is like the bitterness of medicine, not always sweet, but always working for your good. These days, I like to tear kale leaves into bite-sized pieces, drizzle olive oil, sprinkle a little salt, and roast them in the oven. The smell fills the kitchen with something earthy, and they crisp up like chips. Who would have thought that the very leaf I once turned my nose up, it could taste so good? And the best part, no guilt, no sugar spikes, no aching knees after. Just a simple snack that reminds me that health doesn't have to come from a bottle, but from a baking tray. Sometimes I sit with my bowl of kale chips, watching the evening news, and I think, Lord, thank you for letting me learn this before it was too late. My joints don't creak as loud, my hands don't shake as often, and I walk out to the porch with more ease. Kale isn't magic, but it sure feels like a gift we almost overlooked. Only now, in these later years, do I see the beauty of a leaf that was always right there, waiting. Number 6, spinach. The smell of butter sizzling in a skillet with fresh spinach takes me straight back to my mother's kitchen. She'd toss it in quickly, just enough to wilt, and serve it alongside fried chicken or meatloaf. Back then, I never thought much of it, just another side dish to eat before I could get a dessert. But these days, spinach feels like a lifesaver. It has this quiet power to relax the body, steady the sugar running through our veins, and even give our hearts a break from working too hard. There's nothing flashy about spinach. It doesn't need to be. It's humble, green, and faithful, like an old friend who shows up right when you need them most. These mornings, I like blending spinach into a smoothie with banana and some yogurt. It might sound fancy, but it's simple and takes less time than brewing coffee. What I notice is that the sugar in my breakfast doesn't spike the way it used to. Instead of feeling jittery or heavy, I get the steady stream of energy that lasts me until lunch. For folks like us, when walking up the stairs feels like climbing a mountain some days, that kind of stability is priceless. My neighbor once laughed when I told him spinach helped my knees hurt less, but when he tried it in his omelet, he came back a week later saying, "You weren't kidding." There's something about spinach that history seems to whisper about. Soldiers in old wars were given spinach soup for strength, and even cartoon characters use it to show power. Funny thing is, the science caught up later. Turns out spinach is packed with magnesium, which helps calm muscles, steady nerves, and support a strong heartbeat. No wonder folks felt stronger with it. The Lord must have known we'd need something simple, green, and affordable to keep us going when life wears us down. And at our age, strength isn't about lifting heavy weights. It's about lifting ourselves out of bed without groaning. Sometimes I'll saute spinach with garlic and olive oil, sprinkle a touch of lemon juice, and it feels like the simplest meal fit for a king. It softens quick, fills a plate, and leaves no guilt behind. Spinach is like a soft pillow for your insides, easing digestion and making you feel light instead of weighed down. Even my grandkids, picky as they are, will eat spinach if I fold it into lasagna or tuck it inside a grilled cheese sandwich. That's the beauty of it. Spinach doesn't fight for attention. It just blends in and quietly does its work. The older I get, the more I realize health isn't about complicated fixes, but about simple faithfulness. A handful of spinach here, a handful there, and over time you feel the difference. My heart beats easier, my sugar doesn't swing like a wild pendulum, and my knees don't swell as often. I sit back after dinner, thank the Lord for the small mercies, and smile knowing that something as plain as spinach carries so much grace inside it. Funny how a leaf we once pushed to the edge of the plate ends up pulling us through the hardest years of life. Number 5, collard greens. The first thing that comes to mind with collard greens is Sunday dinner after church in the South. A big pot simmering for hours with smoked ham hock, steam fogging up the kitchen windows, and a whole family gathered around waiting for that first spoonful. It wasn't just food. It was tradition, comfort, and a little piece of heaven served in a bowl. Today, I look at those collards with new eyes. They aren't just tasty. They're medicine on a plate, helping to push back sugar, calm the heart, and ease the pain in tired joints. It's almost like God slipped his healing hand right into those big green leaves. I remember one winter when my knees were aching so bad I could barely climb the porch steps. A friend told me to go back to collard greens, saute them lightly instead of boiling. I didn't believe him, but I gave it a shot. Within weeks, I noticed less swelling, less stiffness, and even my energy felt steadier. It wasn't a miracle overnight, but it was a slow, steady gift. That's the thing with collards. They work quietly in the background, keeping sugar from running wild and keeping the body from breaking down too fast. Down in history, collard greens carried families through hard times. During the Great Depression, they were often the only thing folks could grow and eat without much money. People survived on them, and maybe that's why collards still feel like survival food today. Strong, sturdy, and unshaken by the seasons. That sturdiness passes into us when we eat them, almost like they're lending us some of their resilience. The bitterness, the toughness, the earthy taste, it's all part of the strength. These days, I like to fix collard greens with onions, garlic, and a splash of apple cider vinegar. The smell fills the kitchen with something sharp and savory, and the taste lingers in a way that feels both old and new at once. And here's the thing. Vinegar itself helps the body handle sugar better, so it's like collards team up with every little ingredient to help us. Even my granddaughter, who swore she hated greens, now asks for seconds when I cook them that way. Food becomes love when you prepare it with care, and collards carry that kind of love. Sometimes, while sitting with a bowl of collards, I think of my parents and grandparents who ate them before me. They didn't know about blood sugar, cholesterol, or inflammation. They just knew collards filled the belly and kept them strong. And now, at this stage of life, I find myself thanking God for their wisdom, even if they never used the word health. Collards aren't just a Southern tradition. They're a lifeline for hearts, blood, and bones that need a little extra support. And every spoonful reminds me I'm not just eating for today, but for the years I still hope to walk this earth. Number 4, Swiss chard. The first time I saw Swiss chard at the market, I thought it looked more like a bouquet than a vegetable. Bright red and yellow stems, wide green leaves, almost too pretty to eat. But don't let the looks fool you. Inside those colorful stalks lies a power most folks overlook. Swiss chard helps smooth out blood sugar like ironing wrinkles from a shirt, keeping highs and lows from tossing us around. And for someone who's felt shaky hands and foggy afternoons, that smoothing feels like a gift from above. It's not just a salad green. It's a steady hand holding you up when your body feels unbalanced. My morning routine changed when I started adding Swiss chard into my scrambled eggs. At first, I thought the stems would be too tough, but sautéed lightly, they soften into something sweet and savory. The leaves cook down quick, almost melting into the pan. What I noticed over time was less afternoon fatigue, less of that heavy slump that had me reaching for coffee at 3 o'clock. Swiss chard seemed to give me fuel, without the crash. My wife even said my mood stayed steadier, and she's usually the first to notice when sugar throws me off. Funny thing is, Swiss chard has been grown for centuries around the Mediterranean, where folks are known for long lives and strong hearts. It was considered food for both the rich and the poor because it was plentiful, nourishing, and dependable. That history feels like wisdom carried forward in every bite. Eating Swiss chard feels like borrowing a little from those traditions, those long-lived people who trusted in God's simple gifts from the land. And when I eat it, I feel connected to something older than myself, like I'm part of a chain that stretches back generations. One of my favorite ways to enjoy Swiss chard now is to chop it into soups and stews. It soaks up the flavors around it, but still holds its own, adding a tender bite that feels hearty without being heavy. On cold evenings, when my knees ache and my heart feels tired, a bowl of soup with Swiss chard warms me inside and out. It's like wrapping yourself in a blanket that doesn't just comfort you, it strengthens you. That strength doesn't come from some lab or fancy diet. It comes from a simple leaf god painted with bright colors to catch our eye. Sometimes, when I rinse Swiss chard under the faucet and watch the colors shine, I think about how often I ignored foods like this in my younger years. We thought health came in bottles, not in leaves. But now, every forkful reminds me that life after 60 isn't about chasing youth. It's about finding steadiness. My sugar runs smoother. My heart feels calmer, and my joints aren't as stiff when I move. Swiss chard may not shout its benefits, but it whispers them into your life day by day. And those whispers, over time, sound a whole lot like hope. Number 3, mustard greens. The first bite of mustard greens hits you with a little spice, almost like pepper sneaking up on your tongue. Some folks find it strong, but I like to think of it as nature's way of waking us up. That bite isn't just flavor. It's medicine tucked into a leaf. Mustard greens are packed with compounds that fight inflammation. And let me tell you, when your knees sound like an old rocking chair, you notice the difference. They also help keep sugar from swinging high and low, which means steadier days and calmer nights. Eating them feels like letting God's fire burn out the aches that try to slow us down. Back when I was a boy, mustard greens grew wild near the edge of the fields. Farmers would pluck them and bring them home, cooking them down with a little salt pork to soften the sharpness. I used to wrinkle my nose at the smell, but now that same smell feels like comfort. Funny how age changes what we appreciate. My hands used to cramp bad after working in the yard, but after adding mustard greens back to my suppers, those cramps don't visit as often. It's not magic. It's just a slow, steady gift of real food doing its job. In history, mustard has been seen as a symbol of faith. The mustard seed Jesus spoke of, small but mighty, growing into something strong. That always makes me smile when I cook mustard greens. A small seed grows into a leaf that helps the heart, clears the blood, and keeps joints moving. It's a reminder that little things, faithfully tended, bring big blessings. Every forkful feels like a sermon in disguise. Strong flavor, strong medicine, strong reminder of God's design. These days, I enjoy mustard greens sautéed with onions and a splash of apple cider vinegar. That vinegar helps smooth out the sharpness, and together, they make a dish that feels bold but balanced. I sometimes throw in a pinch of red pepper flakes, and the whole kitchen smells alive. It wakes up my appetite and clears the cobwebs from my head. Even my grandson, who claims greens are boring, admitted they taste like grown-up spicy food. And I smiled, knowing he was tasting not just flavor, but a piece of family tradition. Sometimes when I sit at the table with a plate of mustard greens, I think about how much I used to take my health for granted. These days, I give thanks that something so simple still brings so much relief. My sugar doesn't spike as sharply, my chest feels lighter, and my knees let me walk a little longer without complaining. Mustard greens remind me that even the strong, bitter parts of life can bring blessings if we welcome them. And with every bite, I whisper a quiet, "Thank you, Lord, for one more day with strength enough to keep moving." Number 2, arugula. The peppery snap of arugula always catches me by surprise. It's not soft and mild like lettuce. It's got attitude, like a cowboy walking into a saloon. That sharp taste comes from compounds that open up blood vessels, helping circulation and taking some of the load off the heart. For someone past 60, when walking uphill can feel like a test, that extra help in blood flow makes a world of difference. Eating arugula feels like turning the faucet on after it's been clogged, letting the blood move freely again. And with freer flow, sugar doesn't sit around causing damage. It gets used like it should. When my daughter first brought me a bag of arugula from the store, I didn't know what to do with it. I sprinkled it on a sandwich instead of lettuce, and let me tell you, it changed the whole thing. The bite made me slow down and notice the flavor. Over time, I started tossing it into omelets, soups, and even baked potatoes. The funny part? I noticed less heaviness after meals, less of that fog that creeps in when sugar gets out of hand. My wife said I look more awake in the afternoons, and I believe it was that little Leafy kick doing the job. Long ago in Italy, arugula was considered a plant of strength and even used as a tonic for love and energy. Folks believed it gave them vitality, and looking back, maybe they weren't so far off. Science now tells us arugula is rich in nitrates, which relax blood vessels and boost oxygen flow. No wonder those old traditions praised it. Sometimes I think about how many answers our grandparents had before we put names and labels on them. They didn't call it circulation support. They just knew it made them feel alive. These days, I love making a simple salad of arugula, olive oil, lemon juice, and shaved Parmesan. It's crisp, sharp, and refreshing, the kind of meal that doesn't weigh you down but lifts you up. My grandson, who usually hates salad, said, "Grandpa, this one tastes like it's got a little fight in it." And that's exactly what I think. Arugula puts some fight back in your body when you're tired of feeling slow. A bowl of it feels like a spark, not a burden, reminding you that food can wake you up instead of slowing you down. Sometimes, after a light dinner with arugula, I sit on the porch and feel grateful for how far a simple green leaf has carried me. My sugar doesn't swing so wildly, my chest feels open, and my mind stays clearer. Arugula may be small, but it's mighty, proving again that God often hides his blessings in the humblest of things. The sharp bite that once startled me now feels like a friend tapping me on the shoulder, saying, "Stay awake, stay strong, keep moving." And at this age, I'll take every reminder I can get. Number 1, beet greens. Most people toss beet greens straight into the trash without a second thought. I used to do the same, thinking the red root was the only part worth keeping. But the truth is, those leaves are where much of the magic hides. Beet greens are packed with nutrients that sweep sugar out of the bloodstream and open up the heart's pathways. The first time I sautéed them, the earthy smell filled my kitchen, reminded me of walking through a damp garden after a summer rain. It's a humble smell, but it carries a promise of healing in every bite. One evening, I decided to cook beet greens the same way my mama used to fix spinach, with a little garlic and olive oil. The flavor was richer than spinach, almost smoky, with a tenderness I didn't expect. After eating them a few times, I noticed less heaviness after dinner and a calmer heartbeat at night. I even slept better, which I hadn't done in years. My wife joked, "All this from a leaf you almost threw away?" And she was right. Sometimes blessings show up in the scraps we once overlooked. In history, Greeks and Romans ate beet greens long before they touched the root. They believed the leaves helped the blood and gave strength for hard work. Funny how knowledge gets lost over time, only to be rediscovered. When I eat beet greens now, I feel like I'm borrowing wisdom from the ancients, stepping into their simple trust in the land. There's something holy about it, as if God had written a message in the soil. Don't waste what I've given, because every part has a purpose. These days, I chop beet greens into soups or fold them into omelets, and I'm always surprised how quickly they soften. They soak up flavors, turning ordinary meals into something rich and nourishing. Even my picky grandson, who wouldn't touch beets, ate the greens without complaint when I stirred them into rice. That made me smile, because I knew he was eating food that would protect his heart long after dessert was forgotten. There's joy in passing down not just recipes, but health itself through what we cook. Sometimes, sitting at the table with beet greens on my plate, I shake my head at how many years I wasted throwing them away. Now, at this age, every forkful feels like a second chance. My sugar feels calmer, my chest lighter, and my steps a little less painful. Beet greens remind me of life itself. Often the best parts are the ones we overlook. And as I thank the Lord for one more meal, I whisper a promise to myself. Never again will I waste a gift that were right in front of me all along. Looking back at all these leafy greens, kale, spinach, collards, chard, mustard, arugula, and beet greens, it amazes me how something so simple can hold so much power. We spend our younger years chasing after pills, potions, and quick fixes, only to realize later that the garden already had the answers waiting. Each leaf tells a story. Of families surviving tough winters, of Sunday dinners after church, of humble meals that carried more healing than we ever knew. Now, in our 60s and 70s, when every step feels heavier, these greens remind us that strength doesn't always come from the outside. It often comes from what we choose to put inside. I've seen the difference myself. Less swelling in my knees, steadier sugar, calmer nights, and brighter mornings. That's not something you read in a chart. It's something you feel when you bend down to tie your shoes and it doesn't hurt as much, or when you walk out to get the mail without gasping for air. Little changes, steady habits, and the grace of God add up to something bigger. And isn't that what life after 60 is about? Not chasing miracles, but finding peace in small, faithful steps that carry us through. The truth is, no single food is going to save us. We need wisdom, balance, and sometimes guidance from a doctor who knows our personal story. I'm no doctor myself, and I'd never tell anyone to change their diet without making sure it's safe for them. But what I do know is this. Adding more greens has been one of the simplest, cheapest, and most powerful shifts I've made in these later years. And if a plate of collards or a handful of spinach can help ease your sugar, calm your heart, and soothe your joints, then I believe it's worth a try. Sometimes, I sit at the table with a bowl of greens, listening to the clatter of dishes and the laughter of family, and I feel a wave of gratitude. Gratitude for the years behind me, for the wisdom finally learned, and for the hope that still lies ahead. At this age, every meal feels like both a memory and a gift, nourishing the body while reminding the heart that we're still here, still moving, still blessed. That gratitude shines brighter than any medicine label ever could. So, my friend, I leave you with this. It's never too late to feel lighter, stronger, and steadier. God planted these gifts in the soil long before we ever thought to ask for them, and they're still here, waiting on our plates. Take it slow, take it steady, and let each leaf remind you that healing doesn't have to be complicated. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take care of yourselves, cherish the small things, and God bless y'all.